Hey, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of AngularAir. I'm your host, Justin Schwarzenberger. I really wish we had these Google, lower third bar showing up again, but for some reason we don't have it anymore. So you just have to take our words for who we are. Today we're talking Angular Contributor Days, version 2.0, I think, the second iteration of that. So it should be pretty cool. So let's meet our panelists and then we'll say hi to our guests. Joining us today as panelists, we've got Austin McDaniel. Austin, what's going on?
How's it going, everyone? I just got back from Switzerland. I had to miss last week. Sorry I missed last week, but just got back, had an awesome trip. I'm super jet lagged, but excited to be here.
I saw a picture of you inside a glacier. That was kind of epic.
Yeah, that was at what they call like the top of Europe. It's like
Jungfrau Joch.
Yeah, I can't say it. Whatever. Like it was so high, like my head just felt like it was gonna explode.
Yeah, sure. You post a lot of pictures. Look pretty amazing.
I was super jealous.
It was so beautiful, so beautiful, and I had a great talk at a PillConf as well. So that was great.
Nice. All right, we got Bonnie Brennan with us. Bonnie, how's it going?
Good. I'm glad to be here. I think I missed last week too, and I was sad. I love you guys. And then I checked to see who was going to be on today, and I was like, Tracy, and oh my goodness, Steven, like I can't miss it. So wild horses could not keep me away.
Spoilers.
Sorry. See, these panelists just don't behave themselves.
All right. So I'm going to introduce our other panelists. Then Bonnie, I'm going to make you introduce our guests. So there.
Okay.
So our other panelists, we got Mike Brocky with us, and I think I need to focus on him. Mike, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm muted, but I'm in the room with Stephen Fluin, so we're sharing a microphone with different cameras. So sometimes I may talk and Stephen may just move his mouth to make it look like I'm talking and sounding like me. So I'll try not to say anything too offensive those times.
Well, now you've pulled the mystery away. You could have like totally walked into Steven's camera at one point and been like, "Oh, I'm just gonna warp there," but
we'll just switch at various points. Maybe we'll even change rooms right in the middle of the call.
That might happen. All right, Bonnie, introduce our guest for us, please.
I mean, I just have to say I'm super excited because these two, I didn't know Steven that well in the beginning, and I was kind of intimidated because he seems so professional. But then once I got to know him, like he's so fun. And like then you see the silly side come out and it just makes me so happy. And same thing with Tracy. Like Tracy is super, super fun. And these guys are just like, I know that there's, this is Angular and we're professional and we're like software developers, but then I love fun people. So you guys just make me happy. Y'all are fun. And I didn't hardly get to see you at ngConf. So hello.
Go ahead, Tracy.
Oh, what should I say? Hi, everyone.
Yeah, because that was just me like fangirling because I love you guys.
Oh, I love you all too. I love you, but I loved your outfit, as I said at the last conference. Always, if you're a female and you love dresses and you want to wear them at conferences, you should, because it encourages everybody else to wear dresses. If you're a female and you don't like wearing dresses, don't wear dresses. But yes, I love seeing you in that beautiful dress during the party. It was my favorite.
I know that was very unusual. I don't normally wear dresses, but that dress was just, and it had pockets. Dresses with pockets are like the best thing ever. But yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. So my name is Tracy. I'm a co-founder of a company called This.Labs. Do a lot of stuff, a Google developer expert as well, do community relations for Node Foundation. And I probably couldn't list off all the things I do. But anyways, all those things, you can follow me on Twitter at LadyLeet. Always love helping women in tech and things like that. And specifically on here today to talk about Angular Contributor Days with Steven. Who are you, Steven?
Hi, I'm Steven Fluin. I'm a developer advocate on the Angular team here at Google. So I just spend all day building cool things with Angular and talking to people who build cool things with Angular.
Best job ever.
Living the dream.
I know.
And traveling the world talking about Angular. I guess that's the other cool part.
And making time for AngularAir, right?
Of course. That was the 0th element.
You got any cool trips coming up?
So Google I/O is next week, which is a big event. And then the week after that, going to be in Vienna, Austria, for We Are Developers, which should be fun. I'm also doing a remote presentation for Angular Bolivia. And then I've got a trip to Boston, and we've got Angular Contributor Day.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's cool because I'll see you at I/O and I'll see you at We Are Devs as well. So awesome.
Are you going to be in Boston too? Would be.
No, I'm not going to be in Boston, unfortunately. But yeah. That's where I'll be too, everybody. I'll be at Microsoft Build too. Is Angular team going? I know Angular team went to Microsoft Build last year.
Yeah, Rob will be at Build, so we have a presence there.
You guys have to tweet a lot of pictures so we can live vicariously.
Okay. Can do.
Nice. All right, so contributor days. We actually had both of you on for an episode like 101, I think it is. Where we talked about the first contributor days, Angular contributor days. So now we're into round 2, right? So maybe we can get a recap really quick what the Angular contributor days is all about, and then we can kind of dive into like what this iteration is going to be.
You're gonna make me do it?
I can do it, whatever you want.
You do it first. I'll fill in the details.
Okay, so for me, Angular Contributor Days, it's really all about bringing together all of the different folks that make up the Angular ecosystem in a lot of different ways. And so this was actually something we did last year, where we brought everybody together in the same room, but we felt that it was actually fundamentally limiting to kind of squeeze everyone into a single room because like we couldn't fit everyone, we didn't have space. We tried to keep the conversation really productive, and it was really good for the people that were able to be there, but it was almost too exclusive. And so with the second contributor days we're really focusing on here, we're looking at how do we expand that, how do we make it bigger. And so one of the big changes for this year that we're doing is we're pulling it online so that everyone can kind of participate in real time, see what's going on, hear from a lot more different folks. So for us, Contributor Day, it's really about bringing the kind of Angular and the JavaScript ecosystems together for a number of different reasons. So obviously there's cross-pollination. So when one awesome person hears what another awesome person is doing, they're going to say, hey, that's a cool, like, what about this? What about this? And so better, cooler ideas are going to come up spontaneously. We want to make it also present kind of a model because there's a lot of people that are in our ecosystem that are doing really great things. But they don't really know that they're doing great things. They feel like, oh, I'm just a one person, I'm on my own. And you're really not. It's a very, very easy, quick, fast, simple transition to go from someone who's just building Angular applications to someone who's building a tool that thousands or millions of people rely on. And so we want to bring in some of the kind of current leaders of the ecosystem today and say, hey, look how easy it is to kind of focus in a specific area, do something amazing, and then kind of share that with the whole world.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, Angular format-wise is it's going to be you, Stephen, and it's going to be, I think, Igor and Hans, correct? From Angular Core, and then we'll be inviting some people who are doing projects in the community and some people who are doing consulting and some people who are doing teaching to sort of present and sort of give like a 5-minute, like, hey, here's what's going on, just to expose people more to what the entire Angular ecosystem has to offer. Angular team will also be doing like a state world of Angular. I forgot what you called it, but like I think it was world of Angular or something.
State of the ecosystem, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And but then what we're also doing is, since we can't fit hundreds of people onto one Google Hangouts, this is going to be broadcasted via Google Hangouts Live. We're inviting a bunch of people that we know who are speakers, contributors to the ecosystem, et cetera, to come on, log in. So we're going to have a very active sort of like live chat through and be engaging and interacting with those people. And you'll see those people listed online. But, this is open to sort of everybody, right? So you don't have to directly be contributing right now. You just have to be curious and excited about Angular, or maybe, you have questions about what's going on from the Angular team. We will be sending out a survey soon for the Angular Contributor Days to sort of talk about like, maybe like what questions do you want answered from the Angular team, or what can the Angular team do to better help onboard new contributors to the ecosystem, et cetera. So contributordays.com is the website, and we hope to see everybody there.
Nice. Yeah, at the last one, you know, there seemed to be a lot of focus around how do you get the community and people involved in Angular to ramp up on Angular and learn how to use it and to get introduced to it, right? And how can you make that easier and more approachable? And I'm wondering if, like, this year, this version, now that's kind of settled in and people are used to it. Now is it like, where do we go next with Angular? Like, will that be a discussion?
Yeah, I think that's one of the big transitions that we've seen over the last year is, so we released 2.0.0 in September of 2016. And in that very early period, people were all kind of waiting and seeing what we were going to do. Because even though we had this kind of really long track record of success with AngularJS, people wanted to wait and see what was happening with Angular. But I think even last year we hit a point where, okay, now everyone's pretty confident this is going to be a pretty great thing. And then everyone was like, okay, well, now I want to learn. And now we've seen this big transition to, okay, now millions of people have learned. And now what do they do next? How do they advance their skills? How do they go further and whatnot? But I would almost say that it's important for us not to forget all of the people that are just getting started. Because if you look at, whoops, I'm trying to watch AngularAir on my phone, apparently. So one of the big things is, like, if you go to conferences, if you watch podcasts like this, you hear a lot from people that are on kind of the leading edge. But there's millions of developers that are still just getting started. And so I always want to try and reflect that, the kind of silent majority of people that make sure we don't leave those behind.
I think one of the really biggest things is, you know, people like, so one of the things about getting involved in open source in general, or just community in general, is all you have to do is just start, right? So I think a lot of people come to me and they're like, hey, how do I be a better Angular developer? Or how do I get involved and become a speaker? And honestly, all you have to do is submit a talk. All you have to do is start talking to people online. You know, there's no requirement, right? Like, you don't have to be like this type of developer. Because honestly, like, if you keep thinking you need to be some level of developer, you're never going to get there. So I think Contributor Days is a really good way to just sort of like be introduced to the community. One of the things I love about the Angular community is that it is so open, it is so inclusive. Like, Stephen, you are so like, no, it's all inclusive. Like, you're so not about any sort of like exclusivity thing or anything like that. And I think that's really beautiful, and it's sort of like rippled down to the entire community, right? Like, people just show up. Like, this one guy at RX Workshop at ngConf, you know, he was like, hey, I built this really cool thing with RxJS and Firebase. I'm like, that's so cool. Are you on Twitter? And he wasn't. And then after ngConf, like, I see him tweeting like multiple times a day now. And now he's involved in the community. And he was like up on stage, I think, with somebody at ngConf. Maybe it was you, Broccoli. I don't remember. This Chris Rivera guy. He was on stage.
So many people said there were a lot of people that I met at ngConf who had never been there. And they had just never really participated. I mean, they're using Angular back at home in their, you know, jobs, but so many people said that they were just overwhelmed at how nice. And I felt the same way the first time I went to ngConf. I was like, I cannot believe these people are so nice. And they're just so, it was great. It's really amazing. And I think it's something unique in the Angular community, which I love.
Like, a lot of people work really hard to draw distinctions between like contributors, non-contributors, Angular team, things like that. And I really want a lot of those distinctions to fade away, right? Where we're all doing this together. Like, someone could come up with the most important library ever, or like a piece of Angular, contribute or be a part of this. And they don't need permission to do that, right? You can just kind of just get started.
I think it's a very good, not that it is a strategy, but if it were a strategy, it would be great, because when you meet these people that you really admire so much and they're so humble, it's like you just love them even more. So you guys are just gathering up all the love and passing it back out. It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it's you know, if you look at the different core teams, like, you know, there's certain JavaScript core teams, what do I call them? Yeah, okay, maybe core teams, like framework core teams. And everybody takes like a little bit of a different approach of how like they decide to deal with the community. Like some people are like, hey, whatever, community is going to do whatever they want to do. We don't care. But I think Angular team does a really good job at like fostering that, right? That whole like, hey, let's be diverse. Like, hey, let's be nice to each other. Like that type of thing. So I've always found the Angular community very welcoming. And I mean, it was my first ngConf. I remember, I don't know, a few people invited me to ngConf, and then Jules Kramer invited me to ngConf. And after my first ngConf, I was like, oh my God, the community's so large. Like I could keep busy with Angular for the entire year. And that's exactly what happened. Like all of a sudden, I was doing Angular for the rest of the year. So,
and it's actually one thing that we're trying to do better at is even make it easier for the community to contribute. And so we're always looking for new API services. So we've kind of talked a little bit about this new rendering pipeline that we call Ivy. One of the intents behind that is that it makes it easier to contribute into the kind of the inner workings of Angular. And then you also see this kind of across the board with a lot of our work with the CLI schematics, things like ngAdd, ngUpdate, ngGenerate. All of these things are things that developers can tap into as part of their applications, as part of their libraries, without even having to touch the core framework packages of Angular.
It'll allow you to experiment on your own, in your own environment of however you feel comfortable, without necessarily putting your code out there for others to see and feel for potential feedback. So if you don't want that feedback, you can totally work isolated in a box. One of the things I'm excited about the format of this year's contributor days versus last year is the open collaborative environment. There were some really good discussions last year, but those types of conversations can only get better by adding more people to the conversation and by making it more public and more accessible to more people. I think it'll help drive that conversation a little bit more.
Yeah, we wish we had it's funny because we should probably do some sort of like Angular roulette at some point in time. Wouldn't it be cool if like anybody who's doing anything related to Angular gave like 60-second pitches or something like that? And, you know, but that's for another day. But
yeah, there's so many cool things I want to happen in this community. I talk to companies every day that can't hire Angular developers fast enough. And I wish I could like help match make those people, but I don't want to become a recruiting company or a staffing company. Right? I'm already way too busy. But then like one of the things that one of our community members did was they built angulardoc.org, where it scans all of GitHub for open source Angular projects, and they found like 10,000 projects that you can just now search, and you can look for examples. You can say, hey, give me an example of using Angular Fire, ng Bootstrapper, or whatever. And I love those things because not only are the community doing awesome things, the community is doing awesome things to connect to itself, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know that will be coming, just giving like a quick 5-minute update on things. So we'll have like these formats of Angular team giving sort of an update. We'll have Q&A/panel type thing, which Carmen Popoviciu, oh God, did I butcher her name? Carmen, my love Carmen, will be moderating that. Then we'll be moving on to different things like talking about certain things in the ecosystem. So I'm having Kendo UI come talk, having Native Script come talk, having Storybook for Angular come talk, having Stackblitz come speak as well, NGRX too. So like, and a ton of others, right? So you'll be able to hear like sort of like little tidbits here and there. And, if you're doing amazing things too, we love you. We just couldn't include like everybody we loved, which is why, again, we sort of had this open, right? We're just like, and it's all my fault, by the way. You can complain to me. But we tried to be diverse in sort of like these different little categories. Like education is a really important thing with Angular, I think. So we invited a bunch of education type people to come and, be a fun time. Maybe I'll put on my Southern accent for it.
Nice. So if people are looking to, get involved and make something, right? Is there, like, how are we going to inventory everything that's already out there, the gaps that need to be filled, right? I think that we're getting a lot of momentum right now where you're going to see, and you already do see, some overlap, right? And so how do people that want to consume things like libraries and helpers and these things, like, identify, well, which is the one I want to use? Is it saturated? Like, so in terms of somebody getting into it and saying, I want to build something, but I don't know what, but I want to do something to extend Angular in some way. Is there something that's going to come out of this that we can say, oh, that's an area, right?
I think what will happen is you'll hear about a lot of the kind of areas that people are already pushing the envelope a little bit, and hopefully that will spark people's interest. But it really is kind of an open-ended field right now of people contributing. Another example of a place that you can look for kind of what you should be doing to contribute to the community. So similar to Angular Doc, Wasim actually just built a new tool. He builds a cool new Angular tool every week, from what I can tell. But ngx.tools. It's a new URL where he's built another search engine for components and packages and things like that. And so I always try and be inspired by what the community and what other people are doing, and then reflect on my own problems and my own needs.
Wasim's always doing his amazing things. And then, was it Minko that created the "Is Ivy ready yet?" Or was that?
I don't know if I saw that one.
Okay.
I don't know if he created it, but I definitely saw him tweeting about it.
Yeah, which I love, because it was kind of like a React when React Fiber. They had like an is Fiber ready yet? So I love this whole like "Is Ivy ready yet" thing. But I think that's the beautiful thing about our community. Like, Austin, I always see you creating really cool things with visualizations and things like that. And Minko's always doing amazing things, and Wasim's always doing amazing things. And
people we've never heard of doing amazing things, and I would love to look for ways to highlight those people as well.
Yeah. We can just email you daily, right? With like every day, if we build a new app, it's like 30 days of emailing Steven. I would love to start that campaign.
Just tweet at him.
Steven, do you have the bandwidth for that, or what?
Oh, I've been in this community a little bit more than 2 years now, and the number of emails I get every day it's getting out of control. But it's getting out of control in a good way. I mean, it just means that there's so much passion in the community right now.
Just for our viewers, what's your personal email address?
At Stephen Fluin on Twitter.
It's the new email.
Maybe we can start something where people start sending you snail mail.
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
I would love that Angular fan mail. That'd be so cute.
Angular mail time. I'd love it. Let's do it. I'll first send myself something, and that will be the only mail time we'll ever have.
Are you going to send yourself something that tells yourself not to open it for another 20 years? Something like that?
Time capsule? An Angular time capsule? It's like all the breaking changes that we want to put in. We'll just put them in a time capsule, and then 20 years from now, we'll be like, perfect. This is what we needed.
I'm also very excited about you got Angular team hosting NG Girls next week after I/O.
Yeah, that's going to be a big deal. I think we're out of spots now. You'd have to ask Shmuela, who's the lead. We got so it was a week away, or like 2 weeks away, and we had a bunch of mentors but not enough attendees, and so then we're like, hey, we should tell people about this event, and then we got the word out, and the number of people that wanted to attend like 10x'd that same day, and we're like, oh, guess we need to find more space.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm going to get a chance to mentor there, so that's going to be really cool. Because there was just one at ngConf as well, right?
How big was the one at ngConf? Because I want to make everyone should be bigger than the last, right? Like,
I think we had 90 people. So between students and mentors, I think we had 65 students signed up. I didn't get an exact head count in the room, but I think it was 65 students and like 30 mentors. So it was pretty exciting. The room was definitely packed, and I love NG Girls because it's so inspiring, and it's all the good vibes. The whole room is just full of good vibes, and it's super cool, and people get excited. I love it. So yeah, if you get a bigger workshop than ours at ngConf, then we're gunning for you next year.
Nice. I'm picturing like 5 years from now, we have like a sports arena booked out, like with like that 10,000 developers learning.
I mean, it's so empowering. That's why I got it started with teaching, because I wish I had learned Angular like when I was younger. I would have made way more money earlier, which I know it's not what it's about, but like it's so nice to have a good job where you're valued and respected, and it's so empowering. So I love to pass it along.
Even just the movement to any sort of software engineering, I feel like anyone can do it if it aligns with their interests and their, because it's so easy to kind of create a new world, right? Like the only limit is your own mind, and it's so exciting, it's so creative. I'm always looking for new ways to help other people kind of join the software industry.
I actually struggled for a long time because I thought I was super intimidated by programming in general, because I thought they're just smarter than the rest of us. Like they just woke up geniuses somehow. And it's really, and that's what I was trying to explain during NG Girls. Like, it's not like we work for this and we learn this and we get frustrated, we get stuck, we help each other. We, that's why the community is so nice. But it, like, I really think NG Girls is a great opportunity to break through that intimidating, like, it's not like you can do this. It's not because we're smarter. It seems like that, but that's not the case. It's really just a skill that we learned, that anybody can learn this.
I was reading a study about kids, and apparently from like a psychological perspective, instead of saying you're so smart, you're supposed to reposition that to like, you studied so hard, or you worked so hard at this problem, and it makes their whole universe like in their power versus just being something you're born with, which totally is correlated with like better outcomes, because if you believe you're in control of your world, you will be in control of your world.
That's actually really good. It's like a good thing for us to like start saying to each other, like, I worked really hard for this. But I mean, I agree with you, Bonnie. I mean, when I started doing development, which was just about 3 years ago, I was like, wow, I mean, I remember, Ben Lesh and I remember when he was working at Netflix, I was like, Ben, come and teach me this RxJS thing. I don't know what this thing is, right? And, conversations haven't changed much with me and Ben pairing on RxJS, but I remember sitting down and he's like, okay, do you know what this is? Do you know what that is? Do you know what whatever is? And like, I didn't even know how to, I didn't know anything at the time. He's like, let's start off with basic JavaScript, Tracy. But then as he started teaching me more and more, and as I started learning JavaScript more and more, every time I saw something bright and shiny that I wanted to learn, I was like, this is going to be so awesome. I'm going to learn this super hard thing. And then after you're taught it, you're like, oh, that was so easy. Why?
But honestly, Tracy, I think one of the most endearing things about you when you started was, like, I don't know if you realize, for me, it was really difficult to ask questions, especially in the beginning, because I had that major imposter syndrome. Like, I feel stupid because I can't figure out how to do this. And to say like, hey, can you help me figure this out? Like, some people really struggle with that. And so for you to come out and say, I don't know how to do this, it's like, oh, is it just that easy? We're allowed to just say, hey, I need some help. Can you teach me? Like, that's so endearing. Don't let it go to your head.
I mean, it's hard too, right? Because I think I still do it. Like, I still sometimes feel like, oh my gosh, where's my, where's my safe space? Where's my safe circle? Like, who can help me with this problem? I feel like I suck. Should I just give up on technology altogether? Like, you constantly go through, I think, those cycles of, does this work? Does this not? But then, you get worn down, I think, as a very senior level developer, and you're just like, all right, let's just pound through the 15 different ways we could make this work, and it's just going to work, and I'm going to spend 8 hours,
I think perseverance is one of the most important skills for software developers.
Yeah.
Any kind of amount of experience, right? If this is your first day or if it's your 10,000th day, perseverance, push through, because you can do it.
And continue to celebrate the wins. If you get something to work, don't just be like, oh, yeah, of course it works. Celebrate it. Enjoy the fact that it works. Get somebody else excited about it. Show somebody else something cool that you did, whether or not it's one line of code or 1,000 lines of code. But we enjoy the positives as well.
Mike, every time you do that, I always have balloons and cake at my house. Every time you tell me you did something awesome. So I certainly celebrate it.
You're the most supportive person in the universe, Justin. Oh, what? He just, look at that. He just left. The nice thing you said to him, and he was just like, click, whatever.
I'm sorry, Mike. Come back. I think I'm changing rooms.
I think this is also actually one of the reasons why I really like Angular. So when you think about development in general, and I think people always say things like, learn JavaScript first, right? But I have to tell you, for me, after like a week or two, maybe it was even just a week of learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript, my boyfriend at the time just looked at me and he's like, well, I didn't really want to do this, but it doesn't seem like you're going to be happy. Here's Ember. And I was like, this is amazing, right? Because you just have this framework and it's so and that's what really got me really excited. Like, it was like, oh my gosh, I could just build an app. So then I was able to spend like 14 hours building this app. This is kind of the very same thing with Angular, right? Like, you can just ng new, spin up your apps, stick Angular material on, like deploy your app to Firebase. It's on the internet. Like, life is amazing. I think now, especially with tools like Stackblitz, like the other day, Ben said we reported at ngConf and I had a midnight flight. I was like, well, we have 2 hours to kill. Let's code on something. So he taught me RxJS animations super late at night. But like, we just use Stackblitz, quite honestly. We're like, screw this, like, let's just use Stackblitz and do this. So, as our ecosystem sort of evolves and develops, I really love like how Angular has just sort of embraced all these tools and just made it easier for people to just like, do in general, right?
One of the things I would love to do is to help all of the experts out there know that they're experts. And I'll give a couple examples of this. So a lot of people assume that you have to know every feature of Angular to be an expert, and that's totally not the case. So with all these applications to the NG Girls event next week, Shmuel actually went back to a bunch of the people that had applied to attend, and they're like, hey, no, you're already doing this. You should mentor. You should help out. And so I think that if we could have some sort of recognition of like maybe have a lower bar for people, saying, hey, if you're productive in Angular and you're building good apps that are scalable and maintainable and testable, you're an expert, right? Like there's always more to learn, but that don't let that stop you from recognizing your own accomplishments and your own ability.
I think also you don't have to do what everybody else is doing. Like, you should feel very comfortable in your own skin to do what you're good at. And that's advice I give myself, by the way. Like, me, like, I need to learn schematics and elements now. And just being comfortable with like, okay, well, right now I feel much more excited and passionate about helping out women in tech. So YOLO.
If you need help learning schematics, I know a guy.
Yeah, I know. And Hans too. I've been like, Hans was like, I'll teach you. I'm like, you know what you just got yourself into?
Because my self-doubt goes the other direction. Sure, I understand how schematics works now, but at the same time, I haven't done much with material. I haven't written too many Angular applications of recent. So while some skill sets built, some fade.
Fading.
Don't worry, Brocky.
Shiny is a once polished.
I wonder a little bit about like the fact that, we look at Angular and Angular is a platform, right? And because it's a platform, it involves a lot of things, right? And we look at other maybe frameworks or other front end stuff, and maybe it's a little less. It's more of like a framework that does a certain thing. And so maybe in comparison, we think and go, oh, well, it's like a framework. I should know all of it to be an expert, right? And but it's really a platform that involves so many things that like you're saying, you can have these segments of I know this really well, and that does make you an expert. It's just the breadth of Angular is so large, right?
Yes.
I think also it's not, contributor days in general is not just about like it's not like you need to be an expert. It's more about the idea of, hey, if you're doing things that you think are cool, betcha other people think it's cool too, right? Even the small, silly little, like my beginner blogs about things get way more reach than anything. So I always encourage when I see people starting, they're like, oh, I'm going to start with Angular. I'm like, okay, please blog about it. Like, get other people excited about it, because you think, oh, everyone's an expert, everybody's more senior than me. But you know, there's always somebody who knows less than you, right? So you have the opportunity to motivate those people who know less than you, and also probably inspire the people who know more than you for the amount of, you know, effort you're putting out, like putting yourself out there too.
And it's also different voices, right? I mean, like, everybody could teach the same thing, but teach it in different ways, and that'll connect to different people in different ways. So one person may not get it from one source, but may totally get it from another. And I think that's important as well, you know, to keep these, even if it's something like I said, already been written about or already been blogged about how to do this. You know, if you have a voice and you want to share that, because you're going to reach somebody, right? Right.
Yes, I have a very systematic way of how I write my blog posts. Like, it kills me when there's blog posts that are that like assume you know things, and so they leave out half of whatever it is, or you know, you like don't see some bit of code. I'm like, dude, I need to see everything there.
I'm sorry, Tracy.
You can't assume. What? Oh yeah, is that what you do?
Sometimes it's hard not to make assumptions.
Don't assume. Yeah, but I find myself doing the same thing as well, right? Like, I think just depending on where you are in your journey, there's different, like, you know, you sort of like have a different flavor and style of what you do. But what's your next blog post, Broccoli?
I don't know if I have a blog post planned. I think before any blog post, I think there needs documentation.
Post.
Blog post about the documentation.
No, I think it's just the actual documentation. We've done some really, really cool things over the last several months on our team, and just explaining to people how to use them. So I think that will be very cool. I think people are going to be excited with the stuff we've been doing. So just got to be able to share it and educate people about it.
Hey, Stephen, I got a question for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know there's this movement to talk about doing Angular for designers and how do you get designers more involved and stuff like that. Is that going to be a topic on contributor days?
I don't think we had that specced out for this contributor days. I would love to, but maybe that's not the right forum for it. Maybe because I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I kind of start thinking about like, okay, well, if we talk about getting people involved in building other tools and other extensions and things like that for Angular, like, you know, a call to arms saying, look, can we get some more stuff for design type of things involved in there that may be able to spur the community on to wanting to contribute in that angle?
Yeah, no, it's a great thought. I mean, so I gave a talk at ngConf called Angular for Designers, where I explored some of the ideas and the requests that we've gotten and started putting together, hey, what if we did this to really just start a conversation and to drive interest from the community. And I had like 20 or 30 people come up to me after the talk being like, yeah, I can't wait. I need XYZ. I need this other thing. And so I'm really passionate about that. And I think that's going to be a big thing. I hope we can land for developers this year.
What else are y'all going to be announcing? Broccoli's documentation, maybe?
Oh, just going to be, you're going to have to wait and see.
Well, so by the way, I don't think we mentioned that it's May 31st, and it's at 8 a.m. Pacific in order to account for, you know, hopefully that makes it easier for people who are on Europe time and India time and China time. And we tried to make it best.
We considered the world and tried to pick a time that worked best for most people. And we know that we've left some people out, but yeah, we're sorry.
Yes, but it's all recorded, so it's great. I mean, it's just going to be Google, what is it, YouTube Live. So, you know, you'll be able to watch it and ask questions later, and everybody's Twitter handles and things like that will be posted and everything. So you're not going to give us any secrets on these like exciting announcements that are going to happen in a month? What kind of new releases are going to be happening?
Sometimes you just gotta wait and see.
Yeah, I'm curious if you're discussing the release of Angular 6 at there or not.
I believe it was put best by Rob. I think he was the one who said it the most. Is that Angular 6 will be re-released when it's ready. I think that's appropriate.
You're so nice.
So how long is contributor days? Is it like an all day thing because of the day, or?
It's just 4 hours. Yeah.
Just 4 hours.
Yeah. Like 3 to 4 hours. Assuming it's going to be more around 4 hours because of the fact that people, I think, will like to talk. But I think the other thing I like about contributor days is it's so organic. So depending on the people that are there, depending on the people who are just like logging on, listening live and chatting with us in the chat, that's going to really structure where the conversation goes, right? So like, for example, on the education piece, certain people will be talking about like their initiatives in the Angular education world, and then we'll have like a 30-minute open panel session about like education in general. So that'll be a really good opportunity for like, again, anybody who's in the room online with us to chat and talk about like anything they want to talk about, right? When Angular team gives their state of the world Angular thing, then they'll, you know, like you'll have an opportunity basically for an hour of like an AMA. And I actually really love that. I think a lot of things that I tend to do with this dot is really this idea of like bringing people together. So my passions come from bringing people together and helping people in general. And the idea of making things more attainable, right? Like people are just people. I think, Stephen, this sort of resonates a lot with like stuff that you say of, hey, you know, I mean, speaker, core team, whatever, you know, we're all people, we're all in this together. This is kind of one of the reasons why Ben and I do these YOLO Brolo podcasts, where, you know, I get him to like pair with me on something he doesn't even know. And you can hear him with his like dad voice being like, okay, I'm not frustrated. We're going to get through this, you know? But like, it shows that it like helps show that we are all human. Like you don't have to, you know, it's not like Broccoli's never going to break a line of code. He's taking on you.
He's both a robot and perfect. So just keep that in mind.
So not true. Not a very, very, very false.
Bonnie, have you ever seen at Angular Girls, like somebody building an application be like, why are you here as a, like, why aren't you a mentor?
I have actually had this conversation with many people. And actually one of the guys that is now one of my organizers, we had a conversation years ago and he was like, but I'm just a beginner. And I was like, you're not a beginner. And he was like, I'm not. I'm like, no, you're actually like, you've been coming here for a while. You ask really good questions. Stop calling yourself a beginner. But I'm guilty of that too, because they made me a GDE and I was so excited because I don't consider myself an expert. I never, like, I always look and see people smarter than me. Like, I'm just like, you know, I'm just a regular person. So but I think it's good for us not to get too arrogant. Like, oh, I'm a hot shot, you know, like, and it's when I see the Angular core team, they're so humble. And I'm like, it actually helped me a lot because I went back to work after my first NGConf and there were people back at my office that walked around like they were big, you know, important people and they were pretty rude. And it's like, these are like my heroes and they're so humble. And it was very empowering. Like, I love people like that.
Yeah. It's kind of hard once you begin to work with nice people or nice community or just like in general are around nice people to deal with the crappy people. Like it sort of opens up your eyes, right? Like for example, imagine if I had this situation very recently where, you know, there was a person I was working with and it was, you know, for better or worse, it was a guy. And I said something and I got really excited about something. He's like, okay, when I say we're not going to talk about it, that means we're not going to talk about it anymore. And I was like, I'm not sure what that was all about, but after being, after just coming back from ngConf and just having all these people so excited and inspired and like feeling that collaboration and feeling like, okay, this is, I think community in general teaches you how to treat people, right? So it's very hard to go into another community or like start working with people who don't have that sort of same mindset, right? And so if we can keep bringing that into like our organizations in general, that's kind of why I like to see like, I think people in general, like I see a lot of people who are speakers or who work for large companies, like let's say Capital One or something, go to something like ngConf. They're just there, they're excited about it, but then they become these huge advocates within. And I think that sort of stems from like us being a good community in general, right? Like it gets other people excited and wanting to bring it to there.
Because it's so empowering. Yeah. Because there were people when I was just a little developer and nobody knew who I was, like it was easy to push me around, right? But then I go and I'm like, hey, if Mishko would actually like have a conversation with me and answer all my questions and treat me like I'm such an important person that's worth his time. Like, I sang karaoke with Mike Brocky. Do you know who Mike Brocky is? I do, and it's like, I wouldn't allow myself to be pushed around anymore because I felt so empowered that if they started like being condescending, I would start name dropping. Like, Brad Green follows me on Twitter, right? Like I told everybody, like my parents are like, what's Twitter? And I'm like, it's the coolest thing. Like, yeah, it's very empowering when you rub elbows with these great, wonderful people. It's hard to push people around when they get back to the office. It's like, hey, I know, really.
I don't know how old your parents are, but like you have Sam as the littlest dev, and so you could have like your mom as the oldest dev.
I think they're actually, I talked to somebody who was in the process of teaching her mother. So that we do have somebody's mother, and I need to find out who and get them. But sometimes like I'm bad because I meet cool people and then I just like want to yank them in and like have them start participating in the community. And some people, it's like, they're not comfortable with that. And I'm like, oh, you like Angular Bootcamp, Rachel, I was like, you need to go up on stage. And she's like, no, I don't want to go up on stage. And I'm like, no, you're going to be awesome. Trust me, just do it. And it's fun. But like, it's a hard balance for me because I want to take people and go, you're going to be great. I want you to participate in this community, and people are terrified, but then they do it and they find out like, this is such a wonderful community. It's like, really, I think people should participate more because there's so many of us that are introverts. And I was an introvert, believe it or not. I was very introverted because I was terrified. I'm like, oh, what if they don't like me, And once I got over that, like it was really helpful for my career. But that was a hard thing for me to jump over, is like, oh, what if they don't like me? What if I ask a question and they think I'm stupid? Like I try now to like go get other people and get them over that hump. And like, nobody's going to think you're stupid. Come on, it's going to be fun.
It's the same with pull requests. You push up some code, try and fix something. If it doesn't work, you know what? You're not going to get negative comments of like, what are you, stupid? No, people aren't going to be like that. They're going to say, hey, I appreciate you putting out some effort to try and fix something. Hey, what you might want to try is maybe X, Y, or Z because A or B doesn't seem to be working the way you were hoping it would.
Or like a lot of
it all comes back to the letters that you use.
Or like a lot of people, if they're first contributors and they're freaked out or something like that, especially like for RxJS, for example, they'll just be like, hey, I made this contribution to RxJS, because maybe I think they feel like I'm a safe space, versus maybe like they're a little bit more intimidated by Ben. And so I'll be like, Ben, there's a contributor, like help them, respond. And then, that gets people excited. So I think regardless of how you and who you are in the ecosystem, like, dude, even I think, this is what I would love to do. Just like go onto the Angular repos, right? And just, just be like, this is awesome to like every single PR, just get people excited. We should do that. Like,
don't. Do you know how many emails that would send?
They're like, all right, Tracy's at it again. 5 a.m. What's happening?
But to the point, I was at the meetup here in Mountain View on Wednesday of last week, and I think Sam may need to give up her Twitter account. There was a young man who, if I had to guess his age, I would say he may have been 10, 11 years old.
Yeah, but see, Sam is not just the youngest dev; she's also short.
No. She was taller than him.
I'm glad she's not home because she would like come behind me with a bat and beat me for that because that's a horrible thing to say. So, but there's like multiple meanings in the littlest dev.
But I think
tell me.
But
please
see,
don't tell us
like that. And looking out in the audience at the meetup, you're like, wow, somebody brought their child. But after speaking with him after the meetup and getting asked some rather decent questions, I'm wondering if he didn't drag his parents to the meetup.
This is Maddie Ma's little boy, right? He's this like little Asian boy. Yeah. So okay, so we did native script Jeopardy. Steven, do you remember this? So native script Jeopardy, and he like, you know, he started answering one question, but he won straight out native script Jeopardy because he knew all the answers more than anybody in the room. We were like, what?
So there's young developers, but there's also another category of developers that we don't see enough, which is a lot of people build Angular applications at their company behind the firewall, and they toil in isolation kind of. And a lot of people don't realize that there's this huge community out there that even if you work at a big company on proprietary secretive stuff all day, you can still be part of the community. And I think that there's been a bunch of people waking up to that fact. I mean, we're seeing kind of more and more meetups being started even within companies and things like that. And so there's lots and lots of people that are starting to join the community, and everyone's welcome.
Yeah, being a speaker doesn't mean you have to go to a conference where there's 30,000 people or going to a local conference where there's 300 people or even a meetup where there's 20 to 50 people. It could just be your team. Hey, this is something cool I learned. Let me show it to you 5 people. Or just going to the person next to you. Hey, take a look at what I just saw. That's all part of building the community and sharing the knowledge that you've gained, as well as absorbing knowledge that others have gained and are willing to share.
That's actually been a really interesting thing for me to realize. You don't realize until you start being reached out to how many large companies have these sort of like Angular or JavaScript specific meetups just for internal sharing. And that's actually really cool and inspiring to see. The things that we don't see that happen, like these little champions internally, you know.
You know, there's been so much work to evolve this community and this experience and all these great things that everybody's been talking about this whole episode. And we talk about every day with Angular and that whole thing that's going on, right? I wonder if, what's the plan for the next step of taking that blueprint, that experience, that knowledge, and sharing that into other realms, right? To helping other people, other communities do this sort of thing. Contributor days, it's not, there's other contributor days besides Angular, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, there's like, we did RxJS contributor days. We're doing Vue contributor days, React contributor days as well. So, I mean, I think it's really cool to just, you know, like, I think as an Angular developer or whatever developer you are, if you just resource share, right? Like one of the biggest things for me with contributor days, which it was amazing to me that the augury people, Angular augury people, didn't know about Ember Inspector. So I was like, dude, this is the exact same product. And they literally built the same exact thing for the community, not even knowing that the other thing existed. You know, and so I think we tend to see a lot of that, or at least I see a lot of that when I sort of like hop in between different communities. But
cool. All right, well, we'll get into the top of the hour. So let's give the details again really quick about when Contributor Days is and stuff like that, and then we'll wrap up the show.
Contributor Days is May 31st, 8 a.m. Pacific, broadcasted online. You can go to contributordays.com and check it out, and I'll send you the direct link, Justin, so you can post it as well.
Cool. All right. Anybody want to do any picks before we wrap up? Raise your hand, say it loud. I don't know. Okay, Bonnie.
I have one pick, but I'm going to make it really quick. And it was actually kind of funny. This was pre-ngConf, but I feel like it's been a whirlwind since then, so I'm just kind of catching up on picks. But Tracy actually had a little tweet that I didn't know anything about because I wasn't paying attention. And all of a sudden, Samantha and I started picking up all these crazy new followers. And we were like, what's going on? Like all of a sudden, everybody loves us. Where is this coming from? And I didn't know. It took us a few days to figure out that we were on Tracy Lee's Fempire Women Tech Speakers. And it was really like, it was kind of an amazing thing that went viral, and it was really cool. So I just wanted to do a shout out if you guys have not heard about that list. And Tracy, maybe you can.
Yeah. So actually, so it's not all, it's not female speakers. It's actually just random people. I just started every time I met a woman in tech, I just started collecting them and adding them to this Fempire list. So
cars.
But you know, it was so crazy because in my feed and in a lot of other people's feeds, people were like, hi, I just got 300 new followers. Don't know where they came from, but nice to meet you. You know, and it's also, it's like good tech people, right? It's not like random bots following you. It's like, you know, people actually, I mean, I was actually shocked how many people, like there was a list of 300, now it's almost 400. But the fact that people would literally go down the entire list and follow the entire 300 people was insane to me. So yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And when Tracy tweets you, you have been tweeted. Like, yeah, Sam and I didn't know what was going on. And it's a lot of people like, we didn't know what was going on. But apparently Tracy put us on a list.
That's right. Yeah, people would DM me and be like, I don't know what the hell is going on. But I got, you know, whatever 100 followers. I was like, oh, I put you on a list.
Yeah. Well, it was really, I was very flattered to be on that list, and it was a lot of fun. But I thought that was really cool. Like I never had anything go viral like that before, so it was pretty fun.
Very cool.
We've got to sign off here in a sec, so I'll just call it update.angular.io. If you haven't given the V6 RCs a try, update.angular.io shows you how to do it. Give us feedback on it. We want to make it better. And if you wait too long, you might miss the RCs entirely. You might just move to version 6 without it. Who knows?
Who knows? Cool. All right. You guys got to get off at the top of the hour.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then let's say thank you to Stephen for joining us today. Appreciate that. And we'll say thank you to Tracy as well for joining us. I think Austin has some picks, but let's say thanks first, just in case everybody else jump off. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I got a couple picks. Node 10 came out. And inside Node 10, there's a new feature inside the new NPM called NPM Audit, which does security vulnerability audits on your packages, which is super cool. Everyone should be doing the security vulnerabilities. Also, there's the Node.js debugger for Visual Studio Code now has time travel capability. So you can actually like rewind your debugger while you're actually debugging it. So you don't even have to restart it anymore. And then Visual Studio Code, the new one, can organize your imports for you. So that's a new feature. You can like turn it on where it like sorts your imports for you, like alphabetically, I think. I'm not sure. But it sorts them, so it's cool.
Cool. Now I want to give another shout out to NG Girls, ng-girls.org. You know, they got the workshop coming up here at, like mentioned, after Google I/O. I'm going to have a chance to mentor there, so I'm really looking forward to that. I'm hoping to convince my daughter to come for a little bit of it as well. We'll see. She's got dance that weekend as well, so it might be pretty busy, but we'll see. But I know they have other events coming up as well, so please check that out, ng-girls.org. Great organization. So, all right. Tracy, do you have any links, or can we just say thank you, or how would you like to wrap up?
I'm good to go. I don't have anything exciting to say.
All right.
See you guys at Build and I/O.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for your time. Really appreciate it and all the work that you do. And we're looking forward to contributing.
Everything too. Yeah.
All right. See everyone next week.